Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something seriously ambitious. It is a completely mind-bending framework. We're going to stop looking at Earth as just a map of political borders, and instead, we're going to look at it like a crashing computer. A computer that desperately needs a hard-coded system upgrade. So let's figure out what it actually means to install a planetary ethical OS.
Okay, let's just jump right in with a question that really frames this entire blueprint. What if our biggest planetary issues, war, hunger, poverty, what if they're literally just the result of outdated programming? Like, what if global conflict isn't some permanent baked-in human flaw, but just a completely correctable software glitch? Think about the legacy code our world is running on right now. It's built on extractive returns, zero-sum conflicts, and totally unreliable aid dependency. Basically, it's a system designed entirely around managing scarcity. But the proposed new code completely flips the script. It's engineered for guaranteed operating stability, focusing on regenerative returns, asset-backed guarantees, and creating what the framework calls an abundance reality. It's a total paradigm shift.
So here's our installation progress bar for today. We'll hit the scarcity glitch, the triple helix upgrade, installing the ethical OS, the guilt-free standard, the peace flywheel, and finally, booting up personal abundance.
All right, step 1, the scarcity glitch, diagnosing the global crash.
Right off the bat, the source material points to a fundamental error in our logic called the paradox of scarcity. And this is fascinating because it completely redefines global hunger and war. It argues that we actually already have the tech, the energy, and the resources for an abundance reality, right this very second. So global hunger and conflict, they aren't resource shortages at all. They are massive but totally correctable failures in logistics and mindset. Basically, the system itself is creating artificial scarcity.
Moving on to step 2, the triple helix upgrade, the new BIOS for prosperity.
To fix that scarcity paradox, we have to totally bypass those fragile traditional political treaties. The framework literally calls those analog patches for digital problems. Instead, we need a complete upgrade, a triple helix. It integrates 3 things perfectly. First, the physical hardware layer. Think renewable grids and autonomous logistics architected by players like Elon Musk and SpaceX. Second, the software, which is a moral trust layer. And third, the intelligence, acting as an optimization engine powered by quantum predictive algorithms. They don't just work in silos, they sync up to create a self-healing global foundation.
Next up is step 3, installing the ethical OS, programming the trust layer.
So how do you actually govern all that massive physical tech? You introduce GenAI. That stands for Generative Intentional Intelligence. Now, unlike standard AI that's, just optimizing for corporate profit or getting you to click on ads, GenAI acts as a digital conscience. It's an intent engine. It essentially filters out all the ideological noise and locks right onto absolute universal human needs. It ensures every single technological decision actually aligns with our collective well-being. And anchoring Genie is the PCRMI protocol. You can think of this like antivirus software, but for society. It systematically blocks out extractive behavior and replaces transaction-based aid with a mathematically verifiable environment of absolute trust. In this system, honoring your commitments becomes tangibly, predictably profitable. And on the flip side, violating the system becomes automatically and systematically costly. It's brilliant.
All right, step 4, the guilt-free standard, the core code.
Now we're getting into the actual code that every participant and algorithm has to follow. It's called the guilt-free standard, and it's basically an escalating moral corridor. Step 1, do no harm. That's the absolute non-negotiable baseline to just stop extractive behaviors cold. Step 2, help if you can, which means proactively building up regenerative infrastructure. And step 3, if unsure, ask. Just pause and defer to the predictive engine to find the path of least resistance. It ensures literally every daily action feeds into the stability of the whole network. But look, human friction is inevitable, right? So the system uses what's called the Aikido protocol. Instead of fighting fear and greed head-on, it takes that negative defensive energy and redirects it into highly productive, profitable peace-building actions. It completely bypasses all those sticky ideological traps and focuses everyone entirely on shared survival essentials. Clean air, clean water, and food.
Which brings us to step 5, the peace flywheel, the economic output.
So how does this ethical OS translate into real-world economics? Well, it all hinges on one blunt, pragmatic truth. People protect what pays them. That's the secret engine here. It's all about transforming populations from passive, vulnerable aid recipients into empowered, active asset holders. I mean, it makes total sense. If the economy pays them, they are going to protect the infrastructure.
And that kicks off the peace-for-profit flywheel. It's a 4-step cycle. First, the trust layer establishes moral legitimacy, which dramatically lowers investment risk. Second, that de-risked environment attracts massive capital to build high-scale infrastructure. Third, that creates local prosperity with high-paying jobs, making violence literal economic suicide. And finally, profits are reinvested to rebuild the environment, which just spins the whole cycle even faster. Stability becomes so incredibly lucrative that conflict just becomes mathematically illogical. It's literally obsolete. Finally, step 6, booting up personal abundance, the micro-level install.
Here's the thing. You can't just install this top-down. To get that massive global flywheel spinning, the upgrade has to start at the biological level of the individual. The core philosophy is that personal governance equals global architecture. You can't manage global infrastructure if you haven't conquered your own biological scarcity first. So you solve the hunger bug using tools like nutrient-dense miracle bars. You adopt a whole food plant-based diet to physically flush out neurotoxins and gain baseline ethical clarity. Ultimately, you're using this ethical OS to build your own localized royal oasis of calm, totally free from the anxiety of the scarcity rat race.
Let's look at how this maps out in real life. Take a highly traumatized demographic, like demobilized soldiers. This 6-month roadmap shows exactly how they systematically transition into Earth Guardians. They go from establishing that basic biological clarity and sovereignty we just talked about, all the way to mastering the triple helix integration. In just 6 months, they can step up as leaders governed by this exact new ethical covenant.
So, the blueprint leaves us with this incredibly provocative thought. The resources for abundance, they already exist. They are here, right now. If peace and prosperity really are just matters of system engineering, what role are you going to play in installing the new code? Are you ready to stop scrolling, start building, and actually activate the upgrade? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.